It's Justin Dawson. It's a big episode. It's episode 150 of the All Things TechIE podcast.
Here's the show that loves to talk about gadgets and gizmos, from A-Logic to Yamaha, cameras to control panels. You get what I mean. We love talking all things techie. In fact, that's the name of the show. And here is your host, Justin Dawson.
Yes, indeed. Available wherever you get your audio podcasts and also across all the socials on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. You can find us, and also on the official website www.allthingstech.ie. Welcome to episode 150 of the All Things TechIE podcast. I am your host, Justin Dawson, and we have an incredibly packed show for you today, covering the biggest shifts, shocks and stories of the tech and gaming world. Coming up on today's episode, we're diving deep into the fundamental change coming to one of the planet's most popular apps. WhatsApp is officially rolling out a feature that allows its 3 billion users to ditch their phone numbers and connect using unique usernames. We'll break down exactly how you can claim your handle today and the major privacy pros and fraud cons you need to know about. We look at the stark warning of the Irish workforce. A staggering new report reveals that AI is going to fundamentally change nearly 2/3 of jobs in Ireland. We discuss why business leaders are warning that we are in the middle of a technological monsoon and why multi-billion euro national training fund needs to be unlocked right now. We are also covering Alphabet's massive legal defeat. Europe's highest court has officially dismissed Google's appeal, forcing them to pay a record-breaking €4.1 billion antitrust fine over their Android operating system. Plus, it is officially the end of the era for gamers. Sony has confirmed they are killing off the physical game disc for PlayStation releases starting in January 2028. We look at this digital-only push means for you, your wallet and your console's hard drive, and the highly anticipated release of GTA or Grand Theft Auto 6. Later in the show, we tackle the massive explosion of mobile phone fraud here in Ireland. With fraud offences up 73%, we'll break down the insidious new Hi Dad text scams and the bank impersonators, and how networks like 3 Ireland are blocking millions of scam calls to keep you safe. And finally, in the dystopian nightmare brought to life, we'll explore the terrifying global privacy breach involving BlackVue's dashcam, which allows completely random strangers to track, watch and listen to the private inside the car conversations of drivers over in Australia. We'd like to hear your thoughts on all these stories, so let's get your comments ready. We'll have all this and more coming up in episode 150 of the All Things TechIE podcast. Let's get right into it, starting with our 15-minute deep dive into WhatsApp usernames. Yes, for the next 15-minute segment, we're diving into the deep and massive change coming to one of the most widely used apps on the planet. WhatsApp is rolling out a new feature that will allow its more than 3 billion users to connect using unique usernames instead of their personal phone numbers. This marks a major shift in how we identify ourselves on the platform. Meta, WhatsApp's parent company, is currently rolling out this gradually over the next coming month, but reservations for usernames are already open. Before we get into the good and the bad, let's talk about how you can actually claim your handle right now. Currently, the username reservations are only available to mobile versions of WhatsApp. If you're on an iPhone, you need to tap the U button, then tap your profile. From there, you have to create a username or reserve username, depending on what phase of the rollout you have, and then tap save and done. For Android users, tap the 3-dot menu, navigate to settings, tap on your profile, pick the create or reserve username option and hit save. Now, there is a few rules for these new handles. Your username must be unique. It has to be between 3 and 35 characters long. You can use lowercase letters, numbers, underscores and periods, but you can't use a username made of entirely numbers, and restricted words are banned. If you want to keep your digital branding consistent, the app also gives creators and businesses the option to claim the same username they currently use on Facebook or Instagram. But should you use this feature? Let's break down the pros and cons, starting with the benefits. The biggest pro is undoubtedly privacy. According to Alice Newton-Rex, WhatsApp's head of product, users have been asking for a way to chat without sharing their phone numbers, particularly in large group chats. Our phone numbers are deeply tied to our digital lives, linking us to banking services, multi-factor authentication, and online shopping. By keeping your number hidden, you are significantly lower your exposure to SIM swap attacks, phishing, and account takeovers. Additionally, WhatsApp is doing the few things right with the implementation. There will be no public directory or search engine suggestions, meaning that someone can contact you if they know your exact username. They're also introducing an optional username key feature. This is a short numbered code that acts as an extra credential. People will need both your username and this key to message you for the first time. However, it's not all good news. So let's look at the cons and the major red flags of this update that is raising. The absolute biggest concern is the impersonation and fraud. In fact, the rollout has already facing intense pushback in India, with WhatsApp's largest market of over 500 million users. The Indian government has recently sent a notice to WhatsApp asking them to freeze the rollout. They warned that these hidden phone numbers could drastically increase the incidence of digital arrest scams, phishing, and bad actors impersonating police, banks, and government officials. While Meta has stated they are restricting the names of high-profile officials and celebrities to prevent fake accounts, reporters have already found that usernames closely resembling prominent politicians, Bollywood actors, and financial institutions were still available to reserve. There is also a broader cybersecurity dilemma we have to acknowledge. While the same usernames across your social media platforms makes it incredibly convenient for your friends to find you, it also gives cybercriminals a continuous trail to track your identity. Cybersecurity experts like Rachel Toback recommended picking a username that isn't easily guessable to make it harder for attackers to find and harass you. And finally, we have to remember who owns WhatsApp. Carissa Veldes, a privacy professor at Oxford University, points out that while your private messages remain end-to-end encrypted, Meta still collects a massive amount of metadata like your general location and account info to support their marketing. Moving to usernames doesn't stop the broader data collection machine. So, what is the overall verdict? Ultimately, hiding your mobile phone number is a net gain for your personal privacy, but you must use common sense. Watch out for copycats, verify who you are actually talking to, and seriously consider turning on that optional username key when it becomes available. Coming up next, we are talking about, is AI taking over? The robots are coming for your jobs. But what does it mean for us right here in Ireland? All coming up shortly on the All Things TechIE podcast. We hear the headlines every day, AI is taking over or the robots are coming for your jobs. But what does this actually mean for us here in Ireland? Well, a major new report has just given us the numbers and they are actually staggering. According to new research published by the business group IBEC in Ireland, almost 2/3 of jobs, 64% of roles to be exact, will require significant reskilling due to the impact of artificial intelligence or AI. Let that sink in. Nearly 2 out of every 3 jobs in this country are going to be fundamentally changed. The report, titled Skills for All, Skills for Life, was supported by a centre and brings a very stark warning. Ireland risks failing to capitalise on multi-billion euro AI opportunity if we do not completely shift our national approach to lifelong learning. In fact, the research estimates that AI will redefine occupational tasks to the point where it will affect 82% of working hours in Ireland. This isn't slow, creeping change. The transition requires immediate strategic investment and the business leaders are warning they simply cannot afford to defer spending for future crises. The disruption to our workforce isn't on the horizon, it's happening right now. So, how prepared are we? According to the report, Ireland's previous talent model is currently outdated and in need of serious reform. Cara McGann, the head of skills and social policy at IBEC, paints a very vivid picture of where we stand. She stated, "We are just at the precipice of the change happening as a result of AI." She argues that as a country in Ireland, we cannot be passive, nor can we hold back our resources in the intent in supporting this transition. And here where it gets incredibly thought-provoking, listeners and viewers, McGann pointed out that Ireland actually has a multi-billion euro training fund, the National Training Fund, that is just sitting on the sidelines. Let's quote her directly. She said that we are acting like a rainy day fund when we are given the unprecedented level of technological disruption since the Industrial Revolution. We're actually in the middle of a monsoon. A monsoon. The level of global talent, competition and technological shift we are facing. Audrey O'Mahony, the director and talent reinvention lead at Accenture, highlights a massive blind spot in how businesses are reacting. She notes that right now AI budgets are being spent 3 times more on technology than on people. O'Mahony reminds us that AI is fundamentally reshaping the nature of work, not just the pace of it. Building the skills needed for this AI-driven economy demands a deliberate focus on human capability, confidence, and the total redesign of work itself. Reskilling must become a core business transformation priority, deeply embedded into how organizations continuously reinvent themselves. So, listeners and viewers, what is the solution? Well, while Ireland might not necessarily become the global hub for developing foundational AI models, we have a different opportunity. We can equip our workforce to be globally renowned as AI natives. By treating skills as core infrastructure and embedding ongoing training directly into the workplace, Ireland can build a highly competitive AI native workforce that gives us a distinct international advantage. Currently, Ireland's participation rate in lifelong learning sits at around 48.3%. Now, that is just above the EU average of 39.5%, but IBEC stresses that we need a considerable step change to shift the entire national mindset towards continuous learning. But that isn't the responsibility of the everyday worker or not even the employer. Closing these structural constraints is a shared responsibility. The report calls for a single, coherent strategy with explicit accountability across government, education and employers, for example, universities and further education providers, desperately needing funding certainty. After a decade of declining real per-student funding, higher education must urgently collaborate with industry to ensure that young people are graduating with the exact blended skills required for this new AI economy. The government is acknowledging this. Minister for Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science, James Lawless, responded to the report saying that it serves as a key reminder that a collective effort is essential. Minister Lawless noted that employers, education providers, industry and all the government all have a role to play in helping people adapt to this rapid change. He emphasised that supporting AI adoption is absolutely essential if Ireland wants to remain competitive and unlock new growth opportunities. As the Minister said, we need the right skills responses in place so Ireland is positioned to actually benefit from the AI revolution rather than be left behind by it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the message to Irish businesses, policymakers and to you, the workers, is clear. The AI revolution isn't a future possibility, it's a present reality affecting 82% of our Irish working hours. If we move slower than our global competitors to realign our labour force, we face a severe risk of being left behind. But if we unlock that national training fund, if we shift our mindsets to lifelong learning, and if we invest in our people as much as we invest in our tech, Ireland could become the most formidable AI native workforce in the world. Are we ready for this monsoon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments or reach out to me on my socials. Now, coming up next, Alphabet's Google has officially lost its long-running battle against Europe's top antitrust regulators. They've lost a hell of a lot of money. That's coming up next in the All Things Techie podcast. Alphabet's Google has officially lost its long-running battle against Europe's top antitrust regulators. Last Thursday, the Court of Justice of the European Union, Europe's highest court, dismissed Google's appeal against a record-breaking antitrust fine. Now, let's rewind it a bit to understand how we got here. Back in 2018, the European Commission handed Google a massive €4.34 billion fine. Why? The Commission found that Google abused the dominance of its Android operating system to block rivals. They did this by forcing phone manufacturers to pre-install Google Search, the Chrome browser, and Google Play App Store on their devices, which prevented manufacturers from using competing Android systems. While a lower tribunal did trim the fine down to 4.1 billion, so a bit of a difference, like from 4.2 to 4.1 billion euros in 2022, this new ruling makes it final. The penalty still stands. Now, how is Google going to react to this? A spokesperson from the tech giant, stated that the judgment failed to consider the investments they've made to ensure that the Android system remains open, interoperable, and free. Google also noted that they actually adapted their agreements to comply with the initial EU decisions back in 2018, and they maintain that they are focused on continued innovation for their users and developers. But this isn't an isolated incident, listeners and viewers. Over the past few decades, Google has racked up close to 11 billion euros in EU fines for various antitrust infringements, and the regulators aren't done yet. Under the new Digital Markets Act aimed at realigning big tech, Google could face even more fines for future regarding practices related to search results and its app store. This is where it gets very messy, which brings us to the big question for all of you tuning in today. The heart of this court case was about the pre-installed apps and controlling the mobile experience. So we want to hear from you. Would you like to see a genuine choice of different app stores available to you right out of the box on your phone? So when you buy a new phone, would you like to be able to decide whether you want to put on the Google Play Store and download apps there, or would you like to use, let's say, the Apple Store and be able to download apps there? I've noticed, like, in the past that, like, some developers, and when I'm product testing different software and devices that are sent to me from startups, some of them start off, even with Kickstarter startups, they start off and go, oh, our app is only available to Apple phones. And I was like, well, I don't have an Apple phone. I have an Android phone. How do I get this on it? Oh, you can't. We're going to do an Android app soon. So that's what I want to hear from you, listeners and viewers. Would you like to see a genuine choice of different apps available, or app stores available right out of the box on your phone? Let us know. Drop your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching on video, or hit us up on our social channels, or my social channels. If you're listening to the audio feed, you can find me at YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, at Sir Justin Dawson. Stick around, because up next we're talking about PlayStation to stop releasing games on discs. That's coming up on the All Things Techie podcast. As I drink a drink of water there to clear my throat, this is the All Things Techie podcast. I am Justin Dawson. It is episode 150 of the All Things Techie podcast. You can go back onto our website, and we're going to be doing up the website very soon as well. You can go onto the website and you can go back all 149 previous episodes of the All Things Techie podcast, available in audio and video format, is available on our official website, www.allthingstech.ie. Now, if you love the smell of freshly opened game case or the satisfying click of a physical disc sliding into your console, you might want to sit down. Sony has officially confirmed that they are discontinuing physical game and disc production for all new games releasing on the PlayStation consoles starting in January 2028. After this date, the new games you will buy will only be available digitally, either directly through the PlayStation Store or by purchasing a physical box at the retailer that contains nothing but a digital download code. Now, before you panic and look at your current game shelf, there is a silver lining. Sony is very clear that this transition has zero impact on the games that have already been released, or any disc-based games that launch prior to that January 2028 deadline. Your existing discs are safe. But make no mistake, for new releases, the physical disc era is closing. Sid Schumann, the senior director at Sony Interactive Entertainment, stated that this is a natural direction for the company to adapt to its changing consumer trends, as the preference for its digital media is massively outpacing physical discs. So how did we get there? Let's dive into the pros and the business logic behind the move. The numbers tell a very compelling story for Sony. During Sony's fiscal year ending in March 2026, digital downloads accounted for more than 78%. That's a massive 78% of full game unit purchases. That's a lot for gamers. Digital is more convenient. But here's the real kicker for Sony's bottom line. In 2024, physical software made up only a microscopic 3% of Sony's gaming revenue. When a distribution format shrinks to just 3% of your revenue, the economics of pressing a disc, warehousing and giving a cut to a brick and mortar retailers just doesn't make sense anymore. Digital sales give Sony a much fatter profit margin. But Sony isn't acting alone here. The writing was on the wall just days before this announcement when pre-orders went live for Rockstar Games' Grand Theft Auto 6, the most anticipated game of the decade. Rockstar confirmed that the so-called physical version of GTA 6 will merely be a digital download, code packed inside a physical plastic case. So the biggest game in the world doesn't need a disc. The industry clearly views the format as commercially over. Now, but let's talk about what that means for your console's hard drive, because this massive digital download request comes with some serious technical baggage. GTA 6 is being described as a giant game that will require a lengthy process of preloading, and it is big, which players will be allowed to start on November the 12th, a full week before the game's November the 19th, 2026 release, because the current generation AAA games like this require an enormous amount of storage space. Industry experts are predicting that the market for storage expansion cards is about to absolutely boom. So that's where you put your money into. Storage and chips and storage space, because this is big. Digital only gaming means that you're just paying the £69.99 or $79.99 for the standard game itself. You're likely going to spend extra money just to upgrade your console's storage space to fit these massive files. And that brings us to the cons of this move, because the backlash online in the retail has been absolutely fierce. I think I read, and I'll have to look this up, listeners and viewers, throughout the show, I think it's nearly over 700 gigabytes for Grand Theft Auto 6. 700 gigabytes. It's something like the game is nearly like a terabyte in size. It's absolutely ridiculous amount. And I'm not a gamer, and I never admit to being a gamer, but I believe that a lot of these consoles are only a terabyte in size. So like literally one game is going to fit on your console unless you put an expansion space into your console, and that is just ridiculous. Long-time fans and independent game shops are feeling betrayed. This is the biggest issue: consumer rights and actual ownership. When you buy a physical disc, you can lend it to a friend or you can trade it in. Simon Cardy, a senior editor at IGN, pointed out that taking away physical discs makes trade-ins null and void, meaning gamers looking for a bargain will be locked into paying whatever the full price Rockstar and digital storefronts demand. Independent retailers are actually boycotting the game over this. Video Games Plus and Loot Box Gaming are outright refusing to stock in-code box version of GTA 6, calling it an attack on anyone who cares about video games or cares about the right to own your purchases. Meanwhile, another retailer, PNP Games, even launched a petition demanding a physical disc. There is a very real fear regarding game preservation and licensing. When you buy a digital game, you are simply buying a revocable license. If you think about it, it sounds like a paranoid conspiracy theory, but look at just what happened recently. Sony caught massive heat for pulling over 500 purchased films and TV shows from the user's PlayStation Store libraries simply because licensing arrangement with Studio Canal had ended. As one gamer pointed out online, companies can revoke your digital license at any time, leaving you with absolutely nothing to say as a consumer. Gamers are terrified that their video game libraries will be next. So, you could have purchased one of these digital downloads. For example, the 500 films or TV shows that were pulled from the PlayStation Store libraries, you could have purchased something digital. And what happens if you lose access to your cloud, you get hacked, or anything of the above? You lose your digital copy of this game that you've downloaded, and you can't share with your friends. And this is what brings me to you, the listeners and viewers of All Things TechIE podcast. I want to know exactly where you stand on this. Is the digital only push the final straw for you? Are you one of the 78% of people who already buy everything digitally, meaning Sony's 2028 deadline and GTA 6 massive digital download files sizes won't bother you at all? Or are you looking for a part of the vocal group of gamers who feel that losing the ability to trade in games and being forced to buy expensive storage expansion cards is incredibly anti-consumer? Will you refuse to buy a digital-only PlayStation 6? Or do you trust that Sony to honour your digital licenses for 10 or 20 years from now? Drop your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or hit us up on the social channels with the hashtag AllThingsTechie. Or if you want to go to our website, you can record a little voice message. And also you can visit us at www.allthingstech.ie. I'm across the socials at Sir Justin Dawson, across nearly all the socials: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X, and a lot more. You can find me there as well, Sir Justin Dawson. The era of PlayStation Disc is officially on life support, and the countdown to 2028 has begun. Make sure you clear out some of your hard drive space for that massive GTA 6 download. And we'll be right back with more tech news and stories on the All Things Techie podcast, episode 150. If you feel that your phone is ringing off the hook with suspicious numbers lately, you are not alone. Latest Garda figures show that the overall fraud offences increased by an astonishing 73% in the first month of last year. Today we're looking at what telecoms are doing to fight back, the wild stories from the past month of scammers getting caught, and most importantly, how you can fortify your own digital defences. Let's start with the front line of this war, the mobile networks themselves. We've just received some staggering numbers from 3 Ireland regarding their defensive measures against these rising threats. In 2025 alone, 3 Ireland blocked more than 26 million suspected scam calls and intercepted over 455,000 fraudulent SMS messages. The tide isn't slowing down. So far in 2026, 3 Ireland's fraud team has already blocked over 4 million scam calls, intercepted more than 650 fraudulent text messages, and fraud activity spikes this in the summer. We're seeing that in real time. In just one single day, on Friday, May the 8th, 3 Ireland blocked more than 27,000 scam calls on their network and flagged over 5,000 suspicious calls to customers with possible scam warning. Tom Kinsler, the Chief Consumer Officer at TechIE, noted that there is a growing shift towards highly sophisticated call-based and social engineering scams, where criminals try to manipulate you into handing over sensitive information in real time. This brings us to the question to you, our listeners and viewers. Are we seeing TechIE Ireland step up by blocking millions of calls and issuing on-screen possible scam warnings? But what more should be done by mobile companies to block these callers? Now, there is apps that's coming out on a daily basis that try and highlight that this could be a scam call, but they get it wrong too. Should networks implement mandatory call screening in AI? Should it be harder to spoof call Irish numbers, or do we need stricter penalties and better cross-network collaboration? You can drop your thoughts in the live chat or tweet us on the hashtag AllThingsTechie. We'll be reading your suggestions on air at the end of the show. And while we wait for your comments, let's look at the scam stories that have dominated the headlines in the past month. The tactics are evolving and they are incredibly manipulative. First up in the past month is the Hi Dad deception. This was around Father's Day, a major warned of impersonation scam where fraudsters are sending messages or use AI generated phone calls to pretend to be a victim's child asking for money. And these are incredibly accurate. Like if you say your voice, or if you have a call and it sounds like there's no one there and you're saying hello, or giving the AI system some of your voice recognition software is getting more highly sophisticated, and they are using these to pretend to be a child asking a father for money. These scammers are specifically target busy parents who might have no time to second guess the request, and is highly effective. Men handed over the equivalent of £100,000 to scammers every day during their first 6 months of the year, with £160,000 specifically lost to these Hi Dad scams. Then there are bank impersonators. Bank of Ireland recently warned of a massive spike in scams where customers are getting text messages about declined transaction, prompting them to call a number. When they call, they are connected to a highly professional sounding fraudster who creates a sense of urgency, telling the victim their money is at risk and must be moved to a safe account, when in reality the fraudster controls this account. One victim in his 50s, named Tom, was tricked into transferring €10,000 and even handed over his online banking credentials and passport info over the phone. We also seen scammers impersonate mobile phone companies themselves. Gardaí have issued warnings about criminals calling public numbers and offering discounts or cheap handset upgrade, and then asking a partial payment or personal information. And in a story that would be funny if it wasn't so serious, a scammer pretending to be a Garda on Google Meet accidentally dialed a real Garda from the Financial Intelligence Unit. The real Garda immediately recognised the scam and started recording, causing the criminal to quickly hang up. Scammers are frequently using the Gardaí to even scaremonger vulnerable people, often sending fraudulent texts claiming you owe an outstanding fixed charge notice fine. Finally, watch out for the spoofed UK number starting with +44. Gardaí warned that sometimes these automated calls simply trying to record your voice. If you answer and say yes, the scammer can record that audio and use it to voice authorise charges to your bank account. Just answering the phone alerts the scammers that your number is active, which means they can sell your number to other telemarketers for a higher price. So with all of this happening, how do you stay alert and protect yourself? Based on advice from cybersecurity experts, Gardaí and the banks, here is your survival guide. Adopt a zero trust defense. Always pause and question any unexpected contact, even if it looks like it's coming from a trusted brand. Fraudsters use urgency and pressure to stop you from hesitating, so force yourself to stop and breathe. Never share your codes on these phone lines. Gardaí and telecom executives like Tom Kinsler stress that you should never share your personal details, passwords, or one-time security codes over the phone. Verify independently. Never rely on the phone numbers or links provided in a text message. and ignore international numbers. Let it go to voicemail. Legitimate callers will leave a message. And use verification tools. If you're a Bank of Ireland customer and you get a suspicious text, you can use your text checker service by copying the message, adding the word check in front of it, and sending it to 50365. That's if you're a Bank of Ireland user. If you do fall victim, don't be embarrassed. These are sophisticated digital predators. Alert your bank and the Gardaí immediately. We're going to take a quick break here, but keep those comments in. When we return, we will read your thoughts on what the mobile giants should be doing to stop these callers in their tracks. Stay with us. Imagine you are driving a car, having a deeply personal conversation, or perhaps singing along to your favourite playlist. You feel completely alone. But what if thousands of strangers across the globe could see your exact location, watch a live video feed of your commute, and listen to every word you say? Well, for owners of BlackVue dashcams, this nightmare scenario was actually a reality. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the global dashcam privacy breach that has rocked the tech world. We're going to break down exactly what's happening with the BlackVue app and how it was exposed, and the company's scramble to pull the plug on this feature. And later in the show, we'll be reading some of your comments on this massive privacy oversight. To avoid insurance and security issues on the road, millions of drivers have turned to dashcams. They are brilliant for recording evidence of wrongdoing, but a technical vulnerability exposed a massive flaw in how one company, Australian-based BlackVue, handled its user data. First reported by 9 News in Australia, the official BlackVue app included a remote live view feature that featured an interactive world map. Anyone could download the app and make an account. They didn't even actually have to own a BlackVue dashcam themselves. Once in the app, users could view map-populated locations of BlackVue dashcams. If a dashcam icon on the map had a red ring around the BlackVue logo, it meant the camera was openly viewable and open completely to random public. If there was no red ring, you could see the vehicle's exact location, but not the live footage. And this wasn't just a basic dot on a map. People could tap on these icons and watch real-time footage of vehicles travelling down the streets, the exact streets, view their exact driving speed, and worst of all, hear private, inside the car conversations to the built-in audio. It wasn't just limited to when the car was driving. The app showed footage from parked vehicles, conveniently marked with a blue P on the map. Because BlackVue's parking mode keeps the cameras running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, off the car's battery or an external power source, strangers could essentially spy on parked cars in driveways or garages. But if you had a free account on the app, you were limited to 10 minutes of live viewing per day. But chillingly, if a user paid for a smart subscription, they unlocked absolutely unlimited time to watch and listen to these feeds. On the sheer scale, this was global. When journalists from TechIE tested the app, they were able to view real-time footage and listen to inside the car audio dashcams in Australia, New Zealand, the United States and Canada. The glitch was initially exposed by a local Australian driver named Alex. Alex purchased the BlackVue camera, noticed a little map icon on the app and clicked on it to see his own camera. But when he zoomed out, he realised he could see everyone else's dashcam too. Alex was understandably stunned, telling 9 News in Australia that he could hear people having a normal conversation and, in his words, bad for predators who could track, watch and listen to unsuspecting drivers. Now, the response from BlackVue was initially, let's just say, defensive. When the first contacted by 9 News in Australia, BlackVue dismissed the privacy concerns as sensational and inaccurate. There was also a lot of confusion on how this feature was activated. BlackVue stated that the broadcast feature was intended for event promotion like racing or car clubs and claimed that it was turned off by default. They argued that users had to manually switch on this broadcast function. However, TechGuide reported that the feature was actually set by default, requiring users to manually dig into their settings and turn it off to avoid being broadcast on this live stream. Other reports suggested that the company had only recently changed to an opt-in model amidst the backlash. Now, regardless of whether this was a confusing opt-in or hidden opt-out default, cybersecurity experts were not impressed. Australian cybersecurity expert Simon Smith, who has over 20 years of experience, weighed in. Smith warned that the true test of consumer protection isn't whether tech-savvy user can find a security control buried deep in the app settings. The real test is how inexperienced user is protected by default upon first use. He pointed out that cyberstalking is significant harm and default settings that create pathways for motivated offenders to widely increase that risk. And there's a massive legal element here. In Australia, recording private conversations without consent is unlawful, and offenders can face thousands of dollars of fines or even imprisonment. Yet BlackVue's initial stance was to pass the buck, stating that the responsibility of device owners to ensure that they are complying with local surveillance legislation. Fortunately, the intense public pressure worked. Following immense community feedback, BlackVue published a blog post to address the backlash and ultimately decided to completely remove the live broadcast feature on their app. In a public statement, they confirmed that public cameras have been wiped off the map, and the update to the smartphone app will remove the broadcasting option entirely. So if you own a BlackVue camera, you can breathe a sigh of relief. But that serves as a massive wake-up call to the Internet of Things and device permissions. Furthermore, Australian federal government has introduced mandatory cybersecurity standards for consumer-grade smart devices, which came into effect on March the 4th, 2026, aimed at preventing exactly this kind of digital oversight. All right, it's time for your favourite segment. We asked our listeners and viewers what you thought about this massive dashcam breach, and the comments have been flooding in. Let's pull up a few. Our first comment is from user called TechDefender99, who says the fact that someone could pay for a smart subscription and get unlimited access to stalk parked cars and listen to private conversations is terrifying. How did it make it past a single legal team? That's exactly the point, isn't it? The monetization of unlimited viewing time for completely random app users who don't even own a camera is what makes this feel a feature that for car clubs is more like a surveillance tool. Next up, a comment from Dan via our inbox. Comments at allthingstech.ie. Dan writes, I bought a dash cam to protect myself from the insurance fraud, not to broadcast my terrible singing to the world. BlackVue saying it is our responsibility to comply with local privacy laws when they built the app is a massive cop-out. And finally, a comment from Sarah on our X channel. Thank goodness they have finally removed this feature. I'll be checking on the default settings on every smart device I buy from now on. We can't trust any of these tech companies, she said. And that brings us to the end of this truly massive episode 150 of the All Things Techie podcast. Before we sign off, we asked our thoughts of the major stories that we covered today, and our inboxes and comment sections have been absolutely on fire. So let's get into the mailbag. First off, regarding our deep dive into WhatsApp replacing numbers with usernames, we had a comment from Paul on YouTube who said, I'm all for privacy, but looking at how India is already pushing back because of digital arrest scams, I'm worried this will make it impossible to tell if I'm talking to a real bank or a fraudster. Next, we talk about the staggering IBAC report that AI is going to force 64% of the Irish workforce significantly to reskill. Sarah from Dublin tweeted us with the hashtag All Things Techie podcast, calling it a technological monsoon is perfectly accurate. If the government has multi-billion euro national training fund just sitting there, why on earth aren't we unlocking it right now to prepare our workers? And on Google's massive 4.1 billion euro antitrust defeat over the Android operating system, we asked you if you wanted a genuine choice of app stores right out of the box on your mobile phone. Mark sent us a voice note stating, absolutely, Google forcing manufacturers to pre-install their search engine and Chrome browser stifles all competition. It's about time the EU stood their ground and finalised this penalty. And on the gaming end of things and digital downloads, and Sony ending the physical games disc in January 2028, a listener named Chloe wrote in to say, "This is a disaster for gaming preservation and consumer rights. I rely on trade-ins and afford new games, and making trade-ins null and void, it forces us to pay whatever price for this digital storefront demands. Plus, who wants to pay an extra storage expansion just to download Grand Theft Auto 6 or GTA 6? Chloe, you're not alone. Independent retailers are outright boycotting this code-in-a-box version of GTA 6 for this exact reason. We also asked what mobile companies should be doing to fight this massive 73% spike in phone fraud and those awful high dad scams. John on X commented, "It's great that 3Ireland blocked over 26 million scam calls in 2025, but networks need to implement mandatory AI call screening across the board. If spoofing Irish numbers is this easy, the telecoms need to fix their own infrastructure." And that's all we have time for in episode 150 of the All Things TechIE podcast. A huge thanks to you and everyone who commented, called in and tuned in today. If you enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, and make sure you have had enough hard drive space for the digital future. From me, Justin Dawson, and the All Things TechIE podcast, stay safe online, and I will see you in the next episode 151. That's coming up soon. Take care. Goodbye.